Coming up on Clearcut Plus. The polls are just now closing in Mississippi. Voters deciding a crucial runoff election for U.S. Senate. And President Trump unleashes his Twitter app on Special Prosecutor Robert Mueller the day after Mueller says Paul Manafort has been lying to the feds. Meanwhile, Manafort was busy denying a report of secret meetings with Julian Assange. Both Manafort and the WikiLeaks founder saying they never met. And a new poll finds a disturbing rise in anti-Semitism in Europe, with 1/5 of Europeans saying Jews are too influential.
From the I24 news studio in Times Square in New York, this is Clearcut Plus with Michelle Makori.
Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us. The polls in Mississippi are closed. Voters have decided. All that now remains is for those votes to be counted. The runoff made necessary after no candidate got 50% of the vote the first time around. The Senate race in a traditionally deep red state has been racially charged and full of controversy. Now, polls were tightening headed into Election Day, and last night, President Trump held 2 rallies with Republican Cindy Hyde-Smith. Emily Rao filed this report.
The polls are open in Mississippi, and both candidates, Republican Cindy Hyde-Smith and Democrat Mike Espy, have cast their votes.
It's going to be a historic day.
If I'm lucky and privileged and blessed enough to be elected tonight, I think it's going to represent a sea change.
A potential sea change in what should have been an easy pickup for the GOP, but allegations of racism continue popping up against Hyde-Smith. First, that comment joking about public hangings, then this photo from 2014 showing Hyde-Smith in a Confederate cap with the caption, "Mississippi history at its best."
Great victories.
President Trump taking no chances, making multiple campaign stops with his candidate late into Monday night.
We need the people of Mississippi to go to the polls and elect Cindy Hyde-Smith.
Earlier in the day, these nooses found hanging outside the Mississippi State Capitol with signs reading, "Times haven't changed." Companies like Google and Walmart have asked her to return campaign donations, but some voters standing by Hyde-Smith.
If Trump's for, I'm for.
That was Emily Rao reporting. Then joining me now to talk about Mississippi, Manafort, Assange, and a whole host of other issues are Tom Borelli, conservative activist and contributor to the Conservative Review, and Hank Scheinkoff, Democratic strategist and campaign consultant. Gentlemen, a lot to talk about. Let's focus on Mississippi. Tom, should this even be such a close race, considering it's such a red state?
It shouldn't be. But in today's politics, no one really can predict what's going to happen. But I think at the end of the day, I think Hyde-Smith is going to win out in the election. I think history kind of shows that. It really depends on turnout. And Democrats have really been trying to do the best they could with a couple of gaffes that she made, really trying to play, the race card to its maximum extent. It's all about turnout, but I think at the end of the day, she wins.
Hank?
She wins. It would be shocking if she didn't. The race card was played by the Republican candidate herself, by her comments and her behavior. There's nobody that played the Democrats didn't play the race card. They did what any normal campaign would do. Someone gives you an issue in the opening. You enter the opening, you pound them until you win.
Tom?
Well, pound with the race card. I think we're saying the same thing.
I don't think that's...
Let's remember, the Democrats tried that in both Georgia and in Florida, and it didn't work there either.
I'm not sure that's true at all, but I will say if she loses, it will be about losing jobs and businesses, because the attack by businesses on her after these comments was not insignificant.
All right, let's talk about another issue. The president threatening to shut down the government if he doesn't get funding for a border security wall along the U.S.-Mexico border. Hank, you've been involved a long time with politics.
Sure.
Is a government shutdown ever a good idea? Does it hurt the party that's in charge at the time more than anything else?
In 1995, the start of the year, Bill Clinton was down 35 points. I was a member of the media team. We were producing ads. And what we found is the day that the geniuses shut the government, the Republicans, Gingrich and company, shut the government down, Bill Clinton's numbers started to go through the roof. If they do it, they're going to hurt themselves. They're going to hurt the Republicans and the party very badly. And it's a brand that's already been damaged. So this would just make it worse.
Tom, the base wants a wall. Republicans want a wall. This is a big issue. Right. They want the security that a border wall can provide.
Right, and the recent images we've seen out of Tijuana as people really try to charge the fence and get over the wall that's existing really plays into the importance of border security. And President Trump has kept many of his promises. He needs Congress to help him build the wall because he needs to provide that funding. They have partial funding, but I think at the end of the day, it's a good political issue for the base. And I believe the last time the government was shut down, it actually worked in the end in Republicans' favor. When Ted Cruz shut it down.
I'm not so sure about that,
but it goes back to the issue of illegal immigration, Hank, and that's been a big one for the president. He wants people to come into the country legally, to abide by the laws. It's not so much a position against illegal immigration, it's more against illegal immigration. What is the Democratic position on all of this?
Both parties have had real trouble with the immigration issue since the beginning of time. Matter of fact, if you think about the quota system in this country, which made sure the Jews, for example, were excluded from entry, the Republicans put it in place, not the Democrats. So this idea that that the Republicans are doing something to protect the larger good is just false. History proves otherwise. We don't have an immigration policy, and no matter who's been in charge of the government, by the way, Republican or Democrat, they haven't come up with a solution.
Well, I think mostly that's been a huge political issue of late, modern history. And you have to not go back too far in history. Then Senator Obama was worried about people pouring over the border, and Hillary Clinton wanted a border fence.
Right.
So once upon a time, I think Democrats really wanted a secure border. But I think over time, I think what they want is more votes, more people dependent on big government, especially when people who come over the line, over the wall, are not well educated.
And certainly something that Schumer and Feinstein have supported in the past. So why the change of heart now?
Whoa. Go back a second. The Hondurans that are trying to get access legitimately, and they should be vetted as refugees and as people seeking asylum, are perfectly well grounded. Many of those women have been trafficked. Drug use is rampant, and drug sales in Honduras. These are people trying to escape.
I'd say that. My point is lower socioeconomic people can come in, and then I think the data shows that they become more dependent on the government.
Like the Marielitos were in
Just to clarify, Hank, U.S. and international asylum law says that you need to be escaping government-sponsored violence, government-sponsored oppression for being a minority. So gang violence wouldn't qualify.
I would argue
as sad and as tragic as it may be, according to international and U.S. law, if the government is not coordinating the violence or in charge of the violence, it doesn't meet the grounds for asylum.
I would argue that in Honduras, the government is allowing the violence and coordinating the violence and is controlled by outside
So why
elements.
are these migrants carrying Honduran flags as they come to the border? Isn't that perplexing? They're carrying Honduran flags.
We have a country where people in New York City alone will have parades for the places they haven't been to
But if they're escaping government-sponsored violence, is it not odd that they're carrying the flag of that country
Is it not odd that Haitians came here for refuge, carrying the flag when their government was filled with killers?
All right.
And normally a lot of media is really focusing on the women and children, which is important. But there's a lot of able-bodied men also trying to get in. They should be trying to reform their own government with their youth.
Do you really believe that the people in this country who can't fill the jobs we have really want to stand and do the jobs those folks are going to do, like pull the insides of chickens out?
Is it about jobs, or is it about abiding by a legal system?
Right. There's a legal way to do it, and I believe if they want asylum, they entered Mexico first, and that's where they should try.
All right. Speaking of women, let's talk about the First Lady a little bit, Melania Trump. She can't catch a break, it seems, with the media. She's now been attacked for her Christmas decorations. Last year, it was because they were too white. Now it's because they're too red. I mean, Hank, come on.
I agree with you.
Is this just not absurd?
It is completely absurd. She ought to be left alone, and because the issue is she's not the problem. She's a non-combatant in a war between parties, which is normal in the free society. She should be left alone, do whatever she wants. I mean, this is absurd.
I think it looks lovely. Tom, is this just another case of double standards by the media?
Well, yeah. I mean, let's face it. The media really has no time or patience for President Trump, and to Hank's point, it's carrying over to his wife, which is really unfortunate. She's a glamorous, successful, smart woman, speaks many languages. She should be on the cover of many fashion magazines, yet for some reason she's not.
Yeah, that's a point that James Woods likes to make on Twitter. Thank you so much, Tom Borelli, Hank Scheinkoff. Good chat and good to have you with us. All right, still ahead, an outbreak of measles has